NBC Sports presents the National Football League. Today, it's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Diego Chargers.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Charlie Jones along with Todd Christensen. And first, let's take a look at the weather. And the weather in Kansas City. Well, there it is 10 degrees, but the good news the wind is calm. The forecast is cloudy. Now the weather here. 7:40 this morning, 8:40 this morning, shoveling the ice away here at Jack Murphy Stadium. But since then, after a freezing night in Southern California, the temperature a beautiful 59 degrees. The wind is calm, the forecast sunny, just a few clouds in the sky. Absolutely gorgeous. The standings in the West. Big news here, of course, Todd, if Kansas City wins, they're in the playoffs.
Well, they still have an outside hope of winning the division, but it all rests upon the right arm of Steve DeBerg, and really in this case, the left hand. Last week against the Houston Oilers, he broke his little finger, and you can see there fading back, he has this banana-like subject that's covering his pinky finger, broken at the end. He did not shoot this up, Charlie. He was something that he's going to go with this, protect him. He says, it's my team. I'm having the year of my career. There's no way I want to miss today's game.
And when he showed us that finger yesterday, he almost had to be amputated. It was broken so far. It was really grim looking, to say the least.
Well, Steve DeBerg's going to play today, but the key man for the San Diego Chargers is not. Marion Butts, the league's leading rusher heading into this weekend with 1,225 yards, is going to have to sit this one out with a foot injury. Thus, San Diego's running game is going to be dependent upon Ronnie Harmon and Rod Bernstein.
What about next week?
I think there's an outside chance that he might play, and I'm sure that he very much wants to. I mean, if you had a chance to lead the league in rushing, you have that incentive in your contract, darn right you'd want a piece of that.
And here is Christian Okoye. He also will not be playing today, still bothered by that shoulder separation. Kansas City won the toss, and they will be receiving to our left. And that means that John Carney will be kicking off as James Saxon and Fred Jones are the return men for Kansas City. Jones on the far side, Saxon on the near side. Underway. And it is taken by Saxon. Breaks clean at the 30 and comes down around the 37-yard line. The Kansas City offense. Their offensive line is anchored by left tackle number 76, John Alt, who is having an outstanding year. Backs and receivers. The question here, how effective can Steve DeBerg be with that cast on his left hand when Kansas City goes to 4 wide receivers? Both backs and the tight end will come out. Todd McNair comes into the backfield. Emil Harry and J.J. Burden come in as wide receivers. And a handoff to Barry Word. And he's going to get a couple of yards. Let's check out that San Diego defense. Their front seven will be operating short-handed today, as starting nose tackle Les Miller is on the injured reserve with a bad back. So on passing downs, nose tackle George Hinkle and 2 linebackers will come out. Henry Rowling comes in as a pass rusher. Lester Lyles and Donnie Elder join a secondary that feels that left corner number 22, Gilbert, belongs in the Pro Bowl, but he did not make it this year. Second down. And it is complete for the first down into San Diego territory to Stephon Page, a gain of 15. Martin Bayless with a stop.
Well, Stephon Page is having an outstanding year. He's one of those nondescript players that never quite gets his due, but he's some 70-plus yards away from 1,000 yards. There in the zone, does a nice job of taking an inside route on Sammy Seal and sitting down in the dead spot, making the catch from DeBerg for a 15-yard gain.
And a modest streak for Stephon Page. 79 straight games that he has a reception. The league record held by Steve Largent of 177. And here is Barry Word to the 41-yard line.
You know, I asked yesterday when we were talking with Barry Word, I asked him, where did you get those sweet feet? Because for a man 240 pounds, you know, you shouldn't be able to cut the way you can cut. And his response to me was, I don't know.
But he also said the reason that I cut is I don't like to run into people. He said if you run into people, you don't last very long in this league.
Very rarely do you find an offensive player that says I really like to hit people. You find those people on the other side of the ball.
White 25.
off of the left side. It'll be third down as George Hinkle makes the stop.
You know, George Hinkle is now the third nose guard at starter. At the beginning of the season, of course, it was Joe Phillips who suffered that barroom or restaurant accident, and then he was replaced by Les Miller. Now Hinkle, put in the situation being third string nose guard most of the year, now is their starter. And on that play, looked pretty good.
How is the hand of DeBerg holding up so far? Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary?
I haven't seen any bobbles. So far, so good. And this is going to be a lot easier on his hands as well, Charlie. Taking the snap from center in the shotgun's much easier on the left.
There's nobody deep over the middle for San Diego. That's what everybody was pointing to. DeBerg pump fake, then he completes the pass. And it is Rob Thomas who picks up the first down for Kansas City, a gain of 15. So what we have seen so far, at least, is that the cast on the little finger of DeBerg's left hand is not bothering him.
Well, he told us yesterday that he felt like he could take it one-handed. Right there you can see he catches that almost predominantly with his right hand. Does a nice job here of stepping up in the pocket and giving his receivers a chance to break open. The secondary broke down there underneath, and that enabled Rob Thomas to come underneath and make the catch for the first down.
Steve told us there was less pain accepting the snap in the shotgun. And play action fake. Good right hand fake does not fool the Chargers. He is sacked at the 34-yard line. Lee Williams got it.
Mac Judge, very deep in the defensive backfield, made the call, and it appears that there were 12 men on the field for San Diego, and that's what the call is going to be.
But let's go back and look at that fake, because it was a right-hand fake. He will fake single-handed. Also, you know, before the broken finger, he'd fake with both hands.
12 men on the field. Defense, still first down.
That's very disappointing because the Chargers got a sack there, and that almost took them out of field goal range. But now, 1st and 5 for the Chiefs. Hey, this is a small point, but I got to bring it up here. I really like the red pants of the Chiefs. I did. I really like that contrast. But when Marty Schottenheimer came in, they wanted to, in effect, make their own mark, and now their road uniform is all white.
Left-hand handoff to Barry Word, and we pointed out it is the little finger of the left hand that has the cast on it. So far we haven't seen any bobbles. We've seen good play action fake, and we've seen a left-hand handoff.
Well, if Barry Word continues to run like this, that's all he'll be doing is handing off. Misdirection play coming to the right, the standard counter tray. And Barry Word shows some power right there, just lowering his shoulder right there, running into the secondary. For a man who has 4.45 speed and a 240 pounds, that's no fun when he gets a head of steam going.
Did DeBerg grab his hand after the handoff? Is there a little pain there? He's going to have some pain, there's no question about it. Gain of 12.
Yeah, but you know what they say, those old football coaches, they say you've got to know the difference between pain and injury.
That's what the coaches say. Here is Barry Word.
Because it ain't their pain.
That's right. And it's going to be second down and goal to go. Marty Schottenheimer, the head coach of Kansas City. Over the last 6 regular seasons as a head coach, last 6 games of his career as a head coach, this being his 7th year as a head coach. During that span of time, he has won 26 games, lost 12, and tied 1. Remember, we asked him, and he said, I think it's because we just continue teaching as much as anything else.
I think a lot of it has to do with conditioning, too.
Now, this time I was watching DeBerg through the glasses after the handoff. It's bothering him. You can start to tell now that it is bothering him. Leslie O'Neal making the tackle.
Well, but again, see, you've got to remember, and as Steve DeBerg pointed this out last night, I mean, this is in effect almost playoffs for them. They have to have this game. Let's see what his reaction is right there. Now, you can see right there's a little bit of pain, but I think that's because he caught his ankle. And that's what it was. That had nothing to do with the finger.
Didn't have to do with the finger. Okay. Kansas City with 4 wide receivers from the shotgun. Page is there. Touchdown, Kansas City. 8 yards, and for Stephon Page, his 5th touchdown reception, and for DeBerg, his 22nd touchdown pass.
This is a terrific throw by Steve DeBerg right on the end line. Once again, we see the hands. Take it with the right hand looking. Stephon Page went in motion, in effect ran a fade. Martin Bayless had him man for man right at the back of the end zone. His feet get down? They certainly do. Terrific job by Stephon Page at the back of the end zone to get that touchdown.
Opening drive of the ball game. Chiefs move on top. And here is Nick Lowry with the extra point attempt. And it is good. The reaction of Steve DeBerg with the score. Kansas City 7, San Diego nothing. Welcome back to San Diego. Steve DeBerg just engineering the opening touchdown drive, and he looked completely in control.
Yeah, I don't think he had any problem with the finger at all, particularly on third downs. He completed 3 big third down catches. Nice job by Stephon Page in that drive, as well as Rob Thomas. I don't even think it's an issue with him.
What about San Diego? Can they come back, or are they going to be flat now?
Well, I certainly hope not. You know, the crowd wasn't very much into this game at all, and they better get into it if they want to be competitive with this Chief team, who obviously has a lot of incentive here today by getting into the playoffs.
Are you ready for Santa Claus?
Am I ready for Santa Claus? Not as much as you. Well, that green and red you're wearing.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
Donnie Elder on the kickoff return for San Diego. And let's check in on the other scores with our 10-minute ticker. Buffalo defeats Miami, and they are really looking good. Philadelphia over Dallas, so Dallas not in the playoffs yet. Cincinnati leading Houston by 20 in Cincinnati. Final, Pittsburgh shuts out Cleveland. Oh, the Browns have their problems. Chicago over Tampa Bay. Atlanta defeats the Rams, and the Jets wallop New England.
Charlie, in that Cincinnati game, something of interest is that Warren Moon had his 10th 300-yard passing day, which will set an NFL record.
And Tolliver comes back to throw, ducks it off underneath to Ronnie Harmon, who is unceremoniously lifted by Albert Lewis. San Diego's offense. Their offensive line has been the surprise of the year. 4 of the 5 starters are playing out of position. Only David Richard at his familiar spot of right guard. Backs and receivers. San Diego will be without Marion Butts. He's out with a foot injury. Rod Bernstein and Ronnie Harmon will have to shoulder the load. So on passing downs, as we saw here, Bernstein, the tight end, are out. Harmon and Craig McEwen are in. 31-yard line, 2nd down and 8. Arthur Cox is in motion. And Tolliver just drills this one to Anthony Miller, and Lewis again makes the tackle. Kansas City's defense, their front 7 is led by defensive end number 90, Neil Smith. He's having a great year. On passing downs, a nose tackle and 2 inside linebackers will come out. Lloyd Burris, J.C. Pearson, and Stan Petrie join a secondary that has Pro Bowlers on the corners, but a secondary that wants to redeem themselves after being destroyed last week by Warren Moon.
Charlie, if these first 2 plays are any indication that they're going to get some pressure today. Last week against the Denver Broncos, Billy Joe Tolliver threw 50 times and had his first 300-yard game of the season, so it could be that he's feeling his oats.
And here is Ronnie Harmon. And Harmon is collared at the 44-yard line. And it was Kevin Porter, the strong safety, who brought him down. We expected to see Bernstein more in as a first down back, Harmon as the third down back, but San Diego coming out with Harmon right from the get-go.
Well, you got to remember, too, that, you know, Rod Bernstein is just coming off injured reserve, just being activated yesterday, and so I'm sure that he's a little bit rusty. And Ronnie Harmon, the last time he played, Charlie, you and I had that game in Denver where he started as a running back and had 10 carries for 71 yards, as well as catching his usual 4 and 5 balls.
2nd down and 6 at the 44. Cox again, the motion man. Tolliver pressure from the backside, and he is high, and there was nobody there. He was running out of time. Anthony Miller was be the closest receiver, but he was just getting rid of that one. He could feel the pressure from behind.
Well, the first time when San Diego played Kansas City, Derek Thomas was a non-factor, but you can see right here Derek Thomas coming out, trying to get pushed out there by Leo Goaz, but look at the speed of Thomas. He actually takes really a horrible angle and still almost gets there for the sack. It's one of those things that they used to say to me when Cliff Branch was playing with the Raiders: speed kills. And Derek Thomas, a 4-5 guy, can really get up the field.
And you notice today, of course, the flags, so that you've seen them in the other games on the helmets for our servicemen in the Persian Gulf. And we have a story about the flags. It has a local note. Tolliver fires on target, 41-yard line of Kansas City. He drills this one. 15 yards to Ronnie Harmon. Deron Cherry with the tackle.
Charlie, it's one thing when you let a guy go because of one play. I think that people keep recalling Ronnie Harmon in that AFC divisional game last year, missing that pass, and so Buffalo just as well forget it. That's his 40th catch this year, as well as he has over 5 yards average per carry. I mean, Ronnie Harmon is a player. And almost every single coach that we talked to yesterday couldn't believe that they'd let him go on Plan B, that this is somebody who's a very valuable asset to any club.
First down at the Chiefs' 41-yard line. And here is Harmon to the 40. And brought down a couple of yards short of the first down as Deron Cherry makes the tackle. Back to the flag story. 3 weeks ago here in San Diego, the Chargers director of player personnel, Billy Devaney, and the equipment manager Sid Brooks came up with the idea of the flags. They broached it to Bobby Beathard. Beathard said, let me check it out. They ran it by the league office, and after the usual delays that you always have when you talk to major management, and then it came out this week of the flags on all the helmets around the league. So it all started here with these two men. That's a downer. Never share those ideas with other people.
A lot of plagiarists out there.
Rod Bernstein is now in the backfield, and here he carries. And it's close to the first down. He needed a couple of yards.
He made a terrible cut. I was just talking about how rusty he is. The ball was inside, and Albert Lewis had actually been blocked. He's laying on the ground, and Bernstein runs right into him.
But did you notice when he started, he has that nervous start. You know, he's been on injured reserve for 4 weeks with a hamstring. It's third down now, and about a yard and a half to go, and you know, you're eager to come back.
Well, but you know what, Charlie? A lot of people don't realize who are at home that running backs and receivers do not get tackled during the season in practice. You know, you get bumped a little and you have some blocking drills, but you don't get tackled, so you're not used to that kind of collision if you've been out a month.
Tolliver with a fake to Bernstein, or there was a miscue. We looked, there was nobody downfield. Bernstein slipped as he started to you know, when he started to go for the football. What happened?
Bernstein is rusty physically and mentally. He definitely went to the wrong side. And it'll be interesting how they have this measurement, because, you know, when quarterbacks go into their slide, inevitably what the referee is going to do is they'll mark it where he starts his slide. What they don't realize is his intent in this case wasn't to slide at all. He was going for the first down.
And he does make it. We'll go back and take a look at what Todd was talking about.
Take a look at right here. You'll see that Bernstein is to the wrong side. He's expecting him to be the left, and he slips and falls down. Now watch what Tolliver does. He cuts at the field. Very heady play. Nice block there by Cox, and he dives headlong for the first down. Evidently the ref decided that he wasn't going into one of those hook slides, and the head first slide a la Ricky Henderson he assumed was going for the yardage, and they gave it to him.
So Tolliver saves the day, has the first down at the 30-yard line. Kansas City leads it 7-0 opening quarter. But pulled down by Derek Walker. Deron Cherry with the stop at the 11, a gain of 19.
You know, we were talking with Ted Tollner yesterday. He was talking about that when he first heard that they had drafted Derek Walker, he said, oh, great. Another run-blocking tight end from Michigan. Big deal. But he has turned out to be quite a good receiver, and on that particular play, they just left him completely alone. He found his way into the seam, and Tolliver gave him a high throw, and he made a nice extension to come up with that ball.
He also told us they have to get Walker more involved in the offense because he can do so many things.
And he can take a lot of pressure off of Anthony Miller as well.
It's a first down at the 11. And here is Harmon. And he's going to have a couple of yards. That'll be it. Deron Cherry again in the secondary.
This is a terrific drive by the Chargers. As we mentioned, they're a little bit flat coming off Kansas City, going some 60-some yards to go for a score. Now the Chargers come right back and are knocking at the door. Dan Henning, interesting character. I got a charge out of him. He definitely calls it as he sees it. He doesn't pull too many punches, and very dogmatic about his opinions in the running game and the direction where the Chargers are headed.
And you ask him a question, look out, because he'll give you an answer.
That's right.
McEwen is in motion. Harmon runs into traffic, but he gets to the 5-yard line where it'll be third down. Saliamua with the tackle. Dan, of course, with a lot of friends watching you here today from San Diego, played high school ball at Sweetwater High School.
And Bill Cowher, the defensive coordinator, made a terrific point about Sally Amua. He says that he is actually a pretty good pass rusher, and he'd have a lot better statistics if we just let him do what he wanted to do. But in fact, he has to fit into our system, and what that requires him to do is do the famous two gap, which is to take care of two different gaps, always try to occupy the guard and the center, and that's what he does an outstanding job of it.
Oliver to throw. End zone touchdown. Anthony Miller. 5-yard touchdown for Miller. That is his 7th touchdown of the season, and for Tolliver, his 16th touchdown pass.
Well, Tolliver just throws a laser beam here. What the Kansas City Chiefs do is they trust that their front four is going to put on enough of a pass rush. Here you can see 7 people are going to backpedal into the end zone, and all Anthony Miller is going to do is he's going to find a little seam right there between the linebackers, Thomas and Hackett. You can see by the look on their faces with hands on hips, they're not too happy about it. But give Tolliver credit. He threw it right in there.
And John Carney with the extra point that ties it up. And so with 1:37 left to go in the first quarter, the reaction of Tolliver, and the score 7-7.
NBC Sports coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by Acura Automobiles. Experience precision-crafted performance. By LA Gear. Unstoppable in performance fashion footwear. By IBM. Whatever your size, whatever your needs, IBM is working to bring you the best solutions. And by the Budweiser family of beers, who also bring you Bud Bowl 3 coming January 27th.
This is Charlie Jones and Todd Christensen, Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, a tie ball game. John Carney will be kicking off with Fred Jones and James Saxon of Kansas City, the D-backs on the return. And Saxon fields it at the 11, does a little sidestep, slips a tackle. He battles his way to the 23-yard line. Steve Hendrickson of the Chargers is the man who made the tackle. We've got a timeout. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. 1:28 time remaining first quarter. Ball game tied. Kansas City and San Diego 7-7. And the Chiefs have the ball at their own 23-yard line. In case you just joined us, Steve DeBerg, the opening drive, he went 64 yards in 9 plays. San Diego came back. Billy Joe Tolliver, 71 yards on the drive in 12 plays. Kansas City with 3 wide receivers. Barry Ward is the remaining back. And DeBerg with a left-hand handoff to Word. And he has about 4 yards on the play. Billy Ray Smith makes the tackle. On the opening drive, DeBerg picked up 37 yards passing.
That gave him exactly 28,000 yards. That puts him in 18th place on the all-time list for yardage. Now, do you think of Steve DeBerg in the same breath as some of these other people? Maybe not. Every single one of them Hall of Fame quarterbacks. But that's interesting. Those Hall of Fame quarterbacks are now all behind him in passing yardage.
He is 18th. Bradshaw is now 19th. He just passed him on that opening drive. And this pass is complete to Stephon Page. First down at the 36-yard line. And I have a feeling over the next 3 or 4 years, DeBerg's going to pass a lot of good quarterbacks.
You know what, Charlie?
He is just asserting himself.
Well, and it's such a credit to his perseverance and the fact that he's been around. You know, we've done this story ad nauseum about the fact that he's been with 5 different organizations, and he always seemed to be the bridesmaid for all these great starting quarterbacks. Staubach, Montana, Elway, Steve Young. Now he's his own man. He's asserted himself. You got to be really happy for a guy who's a month away from his 37th birthday doing what he's doing.
And here is Word. And he's got a couple of yards. George Hinkle, the nose tackle, is the man who brings him down. An injury report on Neil Smith of Kansas City has an ankle injury, questionable if he can return. Gun sounds. That is the end of the first quarter. We are tied at 7. We'll be back to sunny Southern California in a moment. Number 90 for Kansas City is Neil Smith, who has Marty Schottenheimer says great technique playing the run. Now, what exactly does he mean by that?
Well, what he means by that, he doesn't overcommit himself. You can see right there he's debating with the trainer. He says, it's really hurting me, my ankle right now. But in some of the other coaches I talked to, they said he is playing against the run as well as anybody in the National Football League.
The Braves pass is complete to Stephon Page, and he'll pick up the first down at the 47-yard line.
Stephon Page's 4th catch already, I believe. He's having a terrific first quarter and a half.
Vincey Glenn with the tackle, and here's a look.
Stephon Page pushes up the field and makes Vincey Glenn go back into his back pedal. Of course, Vincey Glenn, who told us yesterday he's not exactly 100% with his hamstring, still, Page does a good job pushing him back.
Vincey said he thought the problem with the Chargers is that we do not know how to win the big games. Interesting point. He also said we have to be one in the locker room. Play action fake by DeBerg. Goes back to the far side, and the pass is complete to Rob Thomas. DeBerg is on target.
What a terrific throw. He had Bert Grossman all over him. Bert Grossman was right in his face. Take a look at how DeBerg is under pressure. This is the savvy of the 36-year-old veteran. There's the play-action face. Take a look at Grossman right in his face. Hits Thomas right on the mark, goes underneath. What a terrific throw by DeBerg.
Defensive coverage by Gilbert of San Diego, the man the Chargers felt should be in the Pro Bowl as a starting corner, and Steve DeBerg agrees with him. He said, I voted for him.
That's quite a compliment.
DeBerg now 6 of 6, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. And he drops this one off underneath the coverage to Billy Jones. Goes down the sideline for a first down. He's knocked out at the 27, a gain of 16. Billy Ray Smith and Junior Seau's of him. Now there's a little jawing going on.
But Junior Seau bumped into him accidentally out of bounds, and that's no fracas. I think what Junior should be angry about is I believe that was Junior's man coming out of the backfield. Near the sidelines, you can see he's heading out of bounds. Now, as he's on the ground, you'll see that Junior accidentally runs into him right here. Just using his momentum. There's no place to go. He just collides with Jones and falls down.
DeBerg now 7 of 7. Next year, he may play with a cast on if he keeps throwing like this. Maybe he needs the counterbalance.
Well, he'll definitely approach Carl Peterson about a renegotiation at this point.
And here is Barry Ward. He is dropped for a loss. Grossman got him. It'll be second down and 13 at the 30. San Francisco on top and the Giants out in front. And here it is Kansas City 7 and San Diego 7.
I should mention, speaking of the ticker earlier, I had mentioned that Warren Moon had gone over 300 yards. He, in fact, did not get over it today. He ended up hurting his thumb, and he missed a lot of the last 4th quarter. So I was mistaken when I said that he had made it. He was a little bit short, but he's got one more try against the Steelers.
DeBerg, the king of the hard count, and he pulls San Diego with him. Oh, he can do that. He can change that inflection in his voice and pull people out of the stands.
And he practiced
Ball
that.
start prior to the snap. Number 17 offense. Still second down.
And it also kind of it can affect himself too.
I thought it was funny how he admitted that to us. You know, a lot of quarterbacks will say, oh, well, you know, sometimes that occurs. He admitted that he does work on that. A very different count to drop people off sides. And earlier in the season, in a very critical game against the Raiders in Los Angeles, he drew the Raiders off 4 times. And I believe 2 of them were on crucial 3rd down situations.
I mentioned a moment ago, DeBerg 7 of 7, and all 7 completions thus far have been for first downs. Todd McNair into the lineup with 4 wide receivers. DeBerg deep over the middle. Pass is complete, 8 of 8. All 8 for first downs, and a flag is down. Probably a face mask. Emil Harry on the receiving end.
Once again, what they're doing is they spread out the wide receivers, and they have 3 of them in coverage. That forces a non-cover guy to be over there, in this case, Vincey Glenn. Vincey Glenn is a free safety by trade, and it's just not his thing to run man for man with a receiver, particularly in a post-pattern situation. And as we mentioned, he's not 100% anyway. He told us yesterday with his hamstring, he's probably 75, 80%.
Personal foul. Face mask. Number 28. Defense. First down.
Call on Donnie Elder. And the ball goes to the 6. It's first and goal.
Well, DeBerg just must be unstoppable today. Now 8 for 8. You can see in the trail position. There's Donnie Elder, and Glenn comes in from the free safety. That wasn't his man. I'm sorry, my mistake. Donnie Elder had him.
Rowland got a piece of that face mask too.
Yeah, they all got a piece of it. It looked like.
First and goal at the 6. And here is word the whistle sound, and flags are down before the snap. Normally this is a motion penalty or a false start against the offensive line from tackle to tackle.
False start prior to the snap. Left guard offense. Still first down.
Left guard is David Zott.
I was going to say, Charlie, for two teams who are noted very physical teams, this is not exactly a defensive slugfest. I don't think anybody's stopping anybody at this point, do you?
No, and the other thing, it's a pretty clean ball game because there were some charges and counter charges, and the Chargers looked at film of the last game and the Chiefs looked at tape of the last game, and this is what happened, and your manhood is at stake and all of that, and now they're playing football, but nobody's playing defense, right?
This goes to show you can't predict.
And here is word to the 5, word to the 2, word to the end zone. Touchdown, 11 yards.
Now I understand why the Chiefs were touting John Alt. A number of the players came to me and said they felt like John Alt should be one of the Pro Bowlers. He opened a gaping hole there for Barry Word as we see Vincey Glenn on the ground. Watch the left tackle push Leslie O'Neal outside. Look at the hole right there that enables Word to run through. Right there in the goal, and he just runs right over the top of Martin Bayless and Vincey Glenn in for the score.
A 77-yard drive in 9 plays. Word with a touchdown. He has 36 yards on 10 carries, and Vincey Glenn is shaken up. So he is down right at the goal line. So we'll take an injury timeout. We'll be back in just a moment. When we talked with Vincey Glenn yesterday, he said he was only 75%. He's going to be less than that now. He really gets nailed.
Yeah, he's really hurt. Right at the end of the run, you can see that Barry Word plows into Martin Bayless. Now you'll see that Vincey will come over and get it. Zott gets him right there. Look at that. Look at how his head piles right into the ground right there. And he's in some pain. I think it had to do with his neck. You can see he's holding himself right there, trying to get his bearings. I know how that feels. One of the highlight films I always see is Walter Payton jumping over the goal line, landing right on top of his head. But he was one of those 19-inch neck guys, and free safeties inevitably aren't guys with big, thick necks. So he's paying for it right now. I'm sure he's hearing bells.
And here is Nick Lowry to attempt the extra point. Lure the holder, and Frank Winters is the snapper. And it is good. And Kansas City moves on top now 14-7. Back in a moment.
The Chevy Corsica.
He just sends them to me. Well, maybe they're working because for the 3rd time in his career, he has now moved over the 3,000-yard mark in passing yardage in a season.
Now, for those rotisserie league types who like to keep track of such things, he's done it with 3 different organizations. He did it with San Francisco in '79, Tampa in '84, and now the Chiefs in 1990. I wonder if there's anybody else who might have thrown for 3,000 yards with 3 different organizations.
But speaking of 3, no 3rd downs on that drive of 77 yards.
It's impressive.
And here is Donnie Elder. Elder to the 20. Inside out, cut to the 30. Great return, fumbles. They're going to rule the ball dead. McNair makes a tackle, 41 yards on the return, and now the crowd here beginning to sneak back into the game.
And that's exactly what they need, the Chargers right now. They went kind of flat there. Once again, a long drive by the Chiefs. Donnie Elder cuts to the inside. You'll see Nick Lowry force him to go back to the inside, and right there, if he stays to the outside, he might be a little bit better off. Here he gives McNair a chance to pursue from the backside and make the tackle at the 41. I think he could have got a little bit more out of that, but nonetheless, gave him a little juice there at the 41-yard line. Good field position to start.
You sound like a coach. Could get a little more out of it. He got 41. Tolliver. Then he just kind of pushes it to Cox. Was that a left-hand push?
True story. True story.
Look at it come up laughing. Now, this is one of the intangibles that the staff likes about this young man.
I'm not kidding you. Back in 1982, we're playing a game where Plunkett right there.
Yeah, it's a left-hand push.
The same thing, and it ended up being a touchdown. He wanted a completion, wanted to get somebody who could run with the ball. That's a nice play.
And Dan Saliamua is shaken up on the play.
Charlie, it's like Ray Chester used to tell me when I was playing, the great tight end of both the Baltimore Colts and the Oakland Raiders. Ray told me, if you get away with it, it's a good play. Saliamua, now the nose guard, moved out, a former Pro Bowler, to show the effectiveness of Dan Saliamua. Bill Moss had been the nose guard, nose tackle rather, depending upon your viewpoint.
Concrete contractor in Arizona during the offseason said, you know, don't you relax? He says, no. He says, man has to work during the offseason. You never know how long this will last. And he said, and he visualized it, Saliamua Construction Company. And he'll do it too. The man will accomplish that.
That name is catchy.
It is that. You have to take a breath between syllables, but outside that is catchy.
Well, if you got a choice to get your pool fixed by Smith, Jones, or Saliamua, who are you going to pick?
Oh, you got to go with Jones first, Saliamua second.
Sorry, Smith and Brown. My
okay. Second and 6. And here is Bernstein, and he's going to pick up a couple. So Rod still showing that the rust from the layoff.
It's interesting, if you could pick up on the sideline mics there, you could hear some of the players screaming, saying, stick it up in there, Rod, stick it up in there. You know, offensive linemen like that guy that runs right behind him and goes north and south. Rod Bernstein has a little, he has some swivel hips, but man, between the tackles, you don't want that. You want somebody that's going to stick their nose in there.
A reminder, at the end of today's broadcast, McDonald's and NBC will be announcing the Ronald McDonald Children's Charities Player of the Game. Billy Joe throws, and it is incomplete. No flags. Miller, the intended receiver. Pearson with the coverage.
Nice coverage there by J.C. Pearson. J.C. Pearson, one of the people that got torched by Warren Moon. There it is, just simply an out route. Pearson stays right with him. Nice job there by J.C. Pearson. After coming off a week where they gave up some 527 yards to Warren Moon, which by now is pretty well documented, I'm sure the Chiefs secondary feels like they have something to prove.
First punt of the ball game. Rotenhauser the snapper, John Kidd the kick, J.J. Burton is the return man, and Saliamua is back in the ball game. And he is signaled stay away, and they'll just let the ball take a San Diego roll to the 11-yard line. We've got a timeout, 9:21 left to go. We're in the second quarter. Chiefs lead by 7.
Sports coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by Today's Chevrolet, who invites you to see why more people are winning with the heartbeat of America. By TWA, the only airline that lets you fly business class for the price of coach. By McDonald's, you know the one, it's McDonald's for food, folks, and fun. And by Miller Genuine Draft, with a reminder to please think when you drink this holiday season.
We're back in San Diego. Kansas City leads by 7. The report on Vincey Glenn, a cervical strain. Questionable if he will return. Kansas City's first down at their own 11-yard line. Now DeBerg can change the play at the line of scrimmage. He also can change the snap count. And it's dropped. Jonathan Hayes could not pull it in. First miss.
It's a tough catch. In fairness to Jonathan Hayes, it hit his hands. Maybe it's a catchable ball, but a little bit over the wrong shoulder. Now take a look at how he has to make that adjustment. Almost comes up with it with one hand. I guess DeBerg is human after all.
When I said they could change the snap count at the line of scrimmage, he was telling us about Rich Baldinger last week. Had one play that he moved on the wrong snap count, and the other one that he stayed there. He said he got all the grief, but both times it wasn't his mistake. DeBerg changed it one time, and the center forgot on the other. His very word.
That's very nice of DeBerg to take the blame for that. What he did is the first time it was on 2 instead of 1, and he moves, so he gets in trouble. So this time he says, I'm staying. I don't care what it is. He says, I'm staying, and sure enough, he stays, and the guy goes around him for the sack.
The center snapped the ball on 1, and he was still waiting on 2, and the sack had already been made.
Oh, boy.
There he is.
Not too pleased with Mr. DeBerg that day.
5 in the secondary. Third down and 6 at the 15. Kansas City with 4 wide receivers. DeBerg has pressure, gets the pass off. It is complete to J.J. Burton, way short of the first down. And in those that just have joined us, is that so far DeBerg has not had any problem with that broken little finger that has a cast on it to the left hand.
No, not when you've only missed one pass in 10 attempts. But listen to the crowd now. They got into it a little bit, appreciative of their defense and the effort they just made in finally stopping the Chiefs for the first time today.
Kansas City will be kicking, and San Diego has Kitrick Taylor and Darren Nelson both back as return men. And Taylor tries to slip a tackle. Todd McNair is down on the coverage, 36 yards on the kick. We've got a timeout. Kansas City has the lead. We'll be back in a moment. 7:48 time remaining second quarter. Kansas City leads at 14-7. I'm Charlie Jones along with Todd Christensen. A cloud coverage has been moving in, so it's cooling off just a little bit, but that's all in relationship to the fact that it was a nice morning here. There's Dan Henning. We asked him about experience, and he said experience is overrated at this time of the year. You don't always agree with that, do you?
No, we'll get to that after this play.
Walker is in motion, and Tolliver goes deep and has it. 29-yard line. 25 yards on the play. Albert Lewis with the tackle.
Nice body adjustment by Ronnie Harmon. Almost Elgin Baylor-like, if you want to go back that far. Somebody who could really control his body. This is in a seam, and this is where you can get popped. Right there, look at how he can backpedal. He has Dino Hackett beaten so much, and right there, he stops on a dime and almost gets away from Albert Lewis. Very athletic play by Ronnie Harmon.
First down at the Kansas City 29-yard line. And here is Rod Bernstein. And he leans to about the 23-yard line. He'll have 6.
Charlie, I wanted to get back into that point that you had regarding Henning, and I disagree for this reason, that it's very tough to have people do well in big games if they've had no experience in big games. The San Diego Chargers have not been in the playoffs since 1982, and as a result, there you see on the graphic, not a single Charger that has been drafted in this organization has yet to play in a playoff game. Now, the experience factor does have something to do with it. Kansas City, look at the players over 30 who have been around the block and know. 12. San Diego only has 3. How are they supposed to have any experience or really understand what a big game is about if they've never played in one?
Second down. Miller is in motion. Little play action fake. Way over towards Miller. It is intercepted by Deron Cherry, and he goes out of bounds. When we talked to Cherry yesterday, we asked him about Tolliver, and he said he expects Kansas City, he expects San Diego to run. They do not want to put the ball game on the arm of Tolliver, and he just picked it off.
That was unfortunate. He was going to Anthony Miller all the way there, and Deron Cherry did a good job of anticipating it. He's anticipating Miller going to the corner. Now you see right there, he's about to break to the corner, and he loses his footing. He cuts off the inside foot, and the ball is already thrown, in a good anticipation there by Deron Cherry. Once again, an interception for Deron Cherry, who is one of the leading active interception leaders in the league. Right there you can see behind a couple of pretty good players by the name of Ronnie Lott and Everson Walls.
And Kansas City with the first down. And here is Ward, and he is met by Leslie O'Neal.
Leslie O'Neal, one of the Chargers who is selected to the Pro Bowl again, also plays the run well, as you can see right there, just coming in there. And again, we have talked about how this man came back from reconstructive knee surgery, and I asked him how significant it was to get selected again for the second time to the Pro Bowl, 2 times in a row, and he smiled and said, it's very, very nice. And I agree, there's nothing like it being picked by your peers.
Second and 14. Gets it off to Word. Word is 20, the 25, and then bumped out of bounds. Let's go back to that interception by Deron Cherry. He said one thing that he believes in the offense of San Diego, that Tolliver is not that good at reading defenses. He has one place to go, and then he just has to get rid of it. And if he sees anything in that one or his primary receiver, he's going to try and force it in. He did there. You look, as you saw, they had 3 men around him, and Cherry picked it off.
Clearly, in that case, you're right, Charlie. I mean, he ran through 2 different defenders. He ran through about 2 linebackers, a safety, and then all the way back there to Deron Cherry. There were 4 white shirts on that side of the field, so you're right. He needed to come off and go elsewhere.
They're down and 4. The swing right side to McNair, and he has the first down. And DeBerg just got it off in time as Grossman was all over him.
Earlier, DeBerg completed a pass just like that in the same circumstance. They actually let him go because this is kind of a short screen to the right to the running back. The right tackle, in this case, Baldinger, just lets him go. And so it looks a lot more ominous than it is. That's actually a planned play, and DeBerg did a good job nonetheless getting it off.
DeBerg now 11 of 12, 122 yards. And the touchdown. No interceptions. He suffered only 4 total this year. And here is Bill Jones.
For those of you at home that can appreciate that, when he screamed out white 25, that's the 2 back and the 5 hole. The 2 back in this case is the tailback, and he was the 2 back, got the ball in the 5 hole. You number it 1-3-5 to the left, and that's where it was. 2 back, 5 hole, white 25.
Check of the 10-minute ticker. Buffalo wins, Philadelphia wins, Cincinnati big over Houston. Pittsburgh wins, they're now in the playoffs. And Chicago wins, Atlanta wins, and the Jets win.
Bad news in that Houston game, Charlie. Warren Moon had a dislocated thumb.
And here is Barry Word. With what we're seeing here, flags are down. With the broken little finger of DeBerg, dislocated thumb of Warren Moon. Do you know which hand?
I don't know.
Can we check? All right, we will get on and chase that down and get that information to you, because, you know, it obviously, as we have seen here, it makes a world of difference.
Illegal motion. Number 43 offense. Still second down.
Bill Jones got a jump. It is the right hand.
Yeah, it turns out that it is.
And Warren Moon's a right-hand thrower.
You know, and it's funny too, Charlie, you know, people who have the chance to watch these games say, how can they pay these guys $2 million a year to do this? To put up with this kind of abuse and the kind of pressure that they put up, not to mention the physical problems that they have on the field. Dare I say it, I think they earn the money.
I've got a question for you right after this play. First down, 46-yard line. Emil Harry pulls it in. You talked about the experience necessary for a big game. You've been in big games. What is the difference in a big game and a regular season game?
Well, what happens is that in a regular season game, you know, at say the middle of the season, the 6th or the 10th or the 11th game, your attitude is always, well, there's another game next week. Once you get into that do-or-die situation, you have to have people that are calm enough to, when things go badly, to not let that overcome them.
And more on that story right after the 2-minute warning. And we'll be back in just a moment. Kansas City first down at their own 46-yard line. They lead 14-7. When we talked with Barry Word last night, here's the hurry up off it. No, they're not that big a hurry. Thought that they might be. His mother, Patsy, was at the game last week and said even though Houston did play so well, they said she really had a great time.
Well, it's not as if Barry Word played lousy. I mean, he had 19 carries for 88 yards. He had a pretty good game himself.
First down at the 40. Little looping timing pass that is knocked away. Good defensive play by Donald Frank.
That was terrific leaping play.
Yes.
You know, I was about to I was about to say, he starts off with a running play. Steve DeBerg's a veteran quarterback. He knows how much time he has, and right here he gets a chance to have single coverage, and he's going to take that every time he can get it. That's a terrific throw, a nice play. Actually coming down, he mistimed his jump, but he stayed with it. Nice job there by Donald Frank.
Back to your thoughts on the difference in a big game and a regular season game.
Well, I think what happens is that adversity is one of those things that sets in a big game. There's always something that's going to happen, especially if you're the away team. Someone scores a touchdown, 80,000 people go crazy. How do you react to that? And veteran players know that it's just one play, and a lot of young players can get too absorbed in it.
Incomplete. Burton, the intended receiver, and this time it was Sammy Seal who covered him. And meanwhile, DeBerg got a lot of pressure.
Les O'Neal puts the pressure on here. You can see Pro Bowler with 12.5 sacks, takes an inside, then changes his mind with an outside rush. They certainly could have called holding there by John Alt, who had a little bit of a takedown mode there.
Leslie had a thought yesterday about the Pro Bowl. He said he thought that the players should vote for their own position, because he said we see each other on film, we know how everybody else is playing, we should vote for our own position only.
I like that idea.
Not a bad thought.
But no matter what idea you come up with, Charlie, there's always going to be some degree of prejudice, and somebody doesn't like it.
Here is pressure from both sides. Pass is complete to McNair. McNair is going to score. 40 yards on a touchdown.
To say that that was an ill-advised blitz is an understatement. They came with 8 players there. Nobody even had McNair in coverage. You can see right here, you're going to see a safety blitz right here. Who has McNair in coverage? Well, nobody. Absolutely nobody. The man who came, Lyles, on the blitz was the man who had him in coverage. And you can see the receiver downfield. Sammy Seal is with his receiver man for man turned around, and McNair has a free rein to the end zone.
And Kansas City just moved 78 yards in 9 plays, 40-yard touchdown pass. And here is Nick Lowry to attempt the point after. And Kansas City moves out in front by a score of 21-7 with 1 minute and 8 seconds left to go in the first half. How sweet it is. Steve DeBerg with his second touchdown pass of the ball game. He now has 23 on the year. He has been intercepted only 4 times. And Todd, you just handed me that note. We were thinking on the same page.
What a ratio. How impressive.
And those 3 interceptions, the 4 interceptions, 3 were in one game that we did against Indianapolis, and the other one was last week against Houston when he came in after his finger had been broken.
And an interesting point here, and I didn't bring this up to him last night, even though I very much wanted to. You can see right there, 1 interception every 96 attempts. He had 233 passes in a row before he had an interception, which is the second longest streak. 294 by Bart Starr was the best. I really feel like here's a guy that could have been in the Pro Bowl.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you can't argue the point. Of course, Warren Moon and Jim Kelly, of course, great quarterbacks. But, I mean, that is really impressive.
And I tell you something else. You cannot argue MVP in the National Football League either.
What he has done for his team this year,
what he has done for his team, yes.
Especially in light of the fact that last year they rode the back of Christian Okoye, who is the league's leading rusher, and really this year he's been pretty much of a non-factor.
If you're into numbers, each of Kansas City's 3 touchdown drives, 9 plays. And it goes out of bounds. They'll bring it out to the 35-yard line.
You know, for a veteran kicker like Nick Lowry, that's a big mistake.
Kickoff out of bounds. The ball will be put in play on the 35-yard line. First down.
Next Saturday, it's a special afternoon of great NFL action on NBC beginning at noon Eastern time with NFL Live. Bob Costas and Will McDonough take you in and around the NFL. Plus, O.J. Simpson goes one-on-one with Bears head coach Mike Ditka. Then it's game time. Mike Singletary and the tough defense of the NFC Central champions, the Chicago Bears. They will be hosting these Kansas City Chiefs, led by Steve DeBerg at Soldier Field. That's next Saturday at noon Eastern time on NBC. And right after this play, I'll tell you about next Sunday.
The way DeBerg is throwing, he might want to get the finger on his other hand broken. Maybe that helps.
Tolliver off balance, still completes the pass. And it is Ronnie Harmon on the receiving end. Danny Copeland makes the tackle, and now San Diego with a hurry-up offense at their own 40, gain of 5.
Dan Henning told us yesterday that the measure of a quarterback is his ability to operate in that 2-minute sequence. It'll be interesting to see what Tolliver can do here.
Slips a sack. Might have been in the grass. Craig McEwen has the reception.
He needs to either call a timeout or throw the ball.
Now he asked for the timeout, but he lets 5 or 6 seconds, valuable seconds at this time, slip away.
He couldn't find the official. That was his problem. He was calling timeout, but he was looking around and couldn't find Jerry Seaman because he was already up there calling first down. You can see right there Henning's not very happy with him. Cost him at least 10 or 12 seconds.
Henning said in this position, as you talked about, a quarterback starts to display his career-long tendencies. Now let's go back to the NFL next week on NBC. On Sunday, of course, we'll start it again with NFL Live as always. And then it's Buffalo at Washington and San Diego at the Raiders.
Well, of course, the Raiders have a chance to clinch the division there with that particular game. And right here, the Chiefs are ahead of the Chargers by 2 touchdowns. They still hold outside hopes for winning the division. So if they were to win today and win in Chicago and the Raiders were to lose that season finale, they would be tied at 11-5, but the Chiefs would win by virtue of defeating the Raiders twice during the regular season.
And that's the first tiebreaker. Timeouts remaining, 28 seconds left to go, first half. Kansas City up by 14, 21-7. Nate Lewis, the motion man for San Diego. Tolliver spins away, a flag is down. We have heard that this year that they were going to, after the season's over, get rid of the in-the-grass rule. I wonder if this officiating crew has started early. They've had a couple of in-the-grass they haven't called.
I think Jerry Seaman's actually doing a pretty good job here.
I don't like that rule anyway.
Oh, no, that's a horrible rule, and we all know that. It takes away from the action.
Holding number 67 offense. Penalty decline. 3rd down.
That's on Leo Goaz.
2nd down. 2nd down.
Hurry up, always. The Chargers, by the way, have allowed just 17 sacks of the quarterback this year. That's second in the league to Miami's 13. And the pass is incomplete to Arthur Cox. That will stop the clock. 17 seconds left to go, first half.
Now it's interesting, of course, now that figure goes to 18 sacks, but one of the fascinating things about this San Diego offensive line is their average age is just a little bit over 24 years of age. So this is a group that's going to be around together for a while, and that could be a base for the future successes of the San Diego running game. And of course, Marion Butts is only in his 2nd year in the league. Tolliver in his 2nd year.
You remember who got that sack for Kansas City? I didn't mark it down.
Chris Martin.
Thank you. There's that little shovel pass has been successful. This is Harlan, and he does not get out of bounds. They will give him his forward progress, which is inbounds, and so that's the reason the clock will move. If they give him, if they take it where he went out, then they'll stop it. They may do that. They're going to take a timeout. Tolliver wants to come to the sideline.
Kansas City's the one that took the timeout.
Did they really?
Oh, sure. They want to take one chance. Hey, they've blocked 6 punts this year.
Oh, that's right.
This is the best punt blocking team. That's actually an NFL record. And, of course, Albert Lewis has 4 of them. So they're saying to themselves, let's give it a shot.
And when we talked to him last night, his eyes would light up. And he talks about the block point. And he would talk about an 8-man front and a 10-man front. Now, fill me in on that.
On the 10-man front situation, that enables them to take away some of the people who would normally cover downfield. That forces them to come in and block, and they're not normally blockers. Albert Lewis can find the gaps when he has a 10-man front because they can't afford to double or triple team him like they usually do. He's a smart guy. He had it all down to an angle. I thought it was interesting he said about John Kidd. He said his punt spot will be at around 10 yards instead of 8.5 or 9. And I point my punt block to 8.5 or 9 yards.
Don't forget halftime. Bob Costas and company. They'll update everything going on in the National Football League today.
Oh, he was close.
He was. But with the play, time will run out. And let's take a look at Albert Lewis and see just how close he got to John Kidd.
He cuts inside. He gets held up there, putting a lot of pressure right there, and a man taking two. He just misses going off to the side. Smart play there to not rough the kicker.
21-7 halftime. Let's go to New York. And here is Bob Constance. Happy holidays, Bob.
Okay, see, I told you Will McDonough is here, and we promise you'll hear from him in just a moment. First, let's get you caught up on all the scores. In a game you're watching, Kansas City, with Steve DeBerg completing 13 of 16, despite that very painful injury to the pinky finger of his non-throwing hand with the cast on it. 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kansas City can clinch a wild card and keep their hopes for the outright division championship in the AFC West alive with a victory, and they may be on their way to it, up by 2 touchdowns, 21-7 at halftime in San Diego. Now, San Francisco is playing at home with their record of 13-1 and playing in this first half without Joe Montana. He has not suited up. He's on the sideline in street clothes. The word we got was if Steve Young faltered in the first half, and as you see, they trail the Saints 10-7, if they felt they really needed Montana in the second half, he'd put his uniform on and play. Obviously, San Francisco has the game wrapped up, and they also have the home field wrapped up throughout the playoffs, the first round bye and everything that goes with it. But New Orleans still has a slim wild card possibility. And so it's important for San Francisco, just as a baseball team out of the race tries to put its best team on the field against a contender that's still alive, it's important for San Francisco to put up a good show today at home. They're trailing 10-7. Now, other scores. The Giants are leading by a score of 10-7 at Phoenix. Jeff Hostetler is in at quarterback with Phil Simms out at least until deep into the playoffs. We don't know if he'll play at all for the rest of the season. Hostetler has completed 7 of 10 in a conservative performance. Rodney Hampton, a 2-yard touchdown run. The Giants with a 10-7 lead. They need a win to assure themselves of a first-round bye. Now, in games played earlier today, Buffalo clinches it in the AFC East. They get the first-round bye and home field advantage throughout the conference playoffs. Fans showing faith in Frank Reich replacing Jim Kelly, and that faith was rewarded. He threw 2 touchdown passes. This is the first one to the veteran James Lofton from 6 yards out, and a 7-0 lead in the second quarter. That was the halftime score. Now this is the opening kickoff of the second half, and Mark Logan fumbles it for Miami into the arms of Carlton Bailey for Buffalo, and the Bills immediately capitalized. Reich again, 11 yards to Andre Reed for the touchdown between 2 defenders. It was 14-zip. Marino cut it in half with this 30-yarder to Mark Duper, juggling catch for the touchdown. It was 14-7. But then, after a Buffalo field goal, Thurman Thomas wrapped it up. He carried 30 times for 154 yards. Great all-purpose back, bouncing off potential tacklers at the line of scrimmage, scoring from 13 yards out. Consolation touchdown, Marino 10 yards to Mark Clayton late in the game, but not enough. Miami has a wild card, but no more. Buffalo, the division champions, 24-14. Philadelphia wins at home over Dallas 17-3, but the Cowboys, despite the fact that their 4-game winning streak has ended, can still clinch a wild card today if New Orleans loses at San Francisco and if Phoenix is beaten at home by the Giants. 17-3, Philadelphia with the win. Philadelphia already has a wild card. Houston played at Cincinnati. Cincinnati wins this game by a score of 40-20. James Brooks, an enormous day, 20 carries, 201 yards, including a 56-yard touchdown and 2 other runs of better than 40 yards. And Cincinnati takes their record to 8-7, drops Houston to the same 8-7 mark. Both teams still alive in the battle for both division championship in the AFC Central and a possible wild card. But here is the very bad news for Houston. Warren Moon, who leads the league with 33 touchdown passes, on his way to a superb season, sustains a dislocated thumb on his throwing hand late in the game. This is in the 4th quarter. Some people questioned, including our Joe Namath, why he would be in the lineup at this point at all late in the game, and the score made it hopelessly out of reach for Houston. He's hit, he goes down, he fractures his thumb. He is definitely out of next week's showdown against Pittsburgh. Now, a possible reason why he would have been in the game at that late stage, look at the yardage, 288 yards passing. He had tied Dan Marino for the record with 9 games of 300 yards or more passing in a season. Marino had set that record in 1984. I believe I said a fracture of his right thumb. It is a dislocation of his right thumb. My mistake. I apologize for that. Dislocated right thumb. He's out of next week's game. You recall last week when he was closing in on Norm Van Brocklin's record, he said he didn't want to stay in the game just to eclipse a record. So we're only speculating that Jack Pardee had that in mind, 12 more yards needed to get another 300-yard game. It doesn't seem to be in character for Warren Moon, but in any case, he was in the game when he probably shouldn't have been, and now it's really cost the Oilers. Pittsburgh took a 35-0 lead at halftime, and they cruised to win at home by that score. So if the Steelers win next week at the Astrodome, they need help nowhere. They're the champions of the AFC Central. Believe it or not, Cleveland fumbled 10 times, and they lost 8 of those fumbles. Bubby Brister threw 4 touchdown passes for Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay has their slim wild card hopes dashed. They're out of it now. Chicago wins 27-14. Tom Zach in for Harbaugh, 2 touchdown passes and a touchdown run for Mike. The Rams lose their 3rd in a row. Atlanta snaps their losing streak at 7. 20-13 the score. The Falcons winning on their home field. And yes, New England loses again. Their 13th consecutive defeat, 1-14 for the year. Jets snap their losing streak at 5, 5-10 for the season. 42-7 the final score at the Meadowlands. Willie?
Well, Bob, it's been a December of devastation. You know, there have been 10 starting quarterbacks in this league hurt in this month, all the way from Warren Moon today with his dislocated finger to Mikowski was operated on 10 days ago for rotator cuff to Sims' foot. And I've never seen anything like it. That's all in the month. These guys have either been injured or operated on. Many of them on playoff teams.
All right, we'll come back with more as the halftime program continues in just a moment.
This is Charlie Jones and Todd Christensen back at Jack Murphy Stadium here in San Diego. Todd, your impression of the first half?
I think there's a new show coming out. It's called the Steve DeBerg Show. I think that's what my impression is. He just can't seem to be stopped. I mean, he's 13 of 16, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he seems to be reading the mind of defensive coordinator Ron Lynn. Everything he throws at him, he's able to pick up, from safety blitzes to any kind of coverage that's coming back there. Multiple coverages, zone, man for man. He's just doing an outstanding job of tearing them apart.
And also, in case you joined us late, he has the cast on the little finger of the left hand and gives him good balance. Hasn't bothered him at all.
Well, as I said, maybe what he should do is break the ring finger, and so next week he has kind of a 2-finger thing, and he wouldn't be 13 for 16, he'd be 16 for 16. He's having a terrific day.
Let's go back now to his touchdown pass to Stephon Page.
Well, this is a terrific throw he makes here. Stephon Page has Martin Bayless right on the end of the end zone, and Stephon Page does. This is actually a roller skating trick. They call it tippy tap to get it just inside. Nice job there by Page.
And read his lips. Perfect, perfect. That's it, yeah.
Nothing like a little self-congratulations, but he deserves a terrific
Actually,
job.
he was doing it to, was that Stephon that he was walking to?
Yeah,
or
just 2 perfects, one for him and one for himself.
That's right. We're a team. As we start this second half, Kansas City out in front by 14, 21-7, and the Chiefs will be kicking off. A complete look at all the statistics. And like the score, leaning to the side of Kansas City.
And for once, the statistics really aren't that deceiving. You can see total yards almost 2-1 Chiefs to Chargers. And of course, the score is 3-1 Chiefs to Chargers. So, you know, that's one of those first downs, 16-7. The Chiefs right now are definitely in charge.
Nick Lowry will be kicking off. Donnie Elder and Donald Frank are the deep backs on the return. Elder on the near side, Frank on the far side. The second half is underway. And here is Donnie Elder. He told me yesterday coming to practice, I'm going to make something happen. Make something good happen. As another good kickoff return to the 34-yard line. This one good for 29 yards on the return. Todd McNair, he is always in the territory, was there, along with J.C. Pearson. Important opening drive second half for San Diego if they're going to get back in the ballgame.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things they need to get integrated into is a running game. They have less than 50 yards in the first half running the football. And coming into this game, they were tops in the AFC with 141 yards a game. In fact, they were 3rd in the NFL, and they just haven't had a running game today.
And here is Bernstein to about the 42-yard line. A report on Neil Smith injured in the first half. He will not return to the ball game for Kansas City. And Leonard Griffin is in his spot at defensive end. And there is Leonard from Grambling, 6'4", 275 in his 5th year. 3rd-round draft choice in '86 and has a total of 3 sacks to his credit.
I just noticed that they were holding hands out there. That's the first time I've seen that in a very long time on the professional level, holding hands in the defense. I remember that was started in Baltimore by Ray May. Remember that with the Colts? They used to hold hands? I didn't know they did that.
McEwen is in motion. Tolliver to throw. Far side to Derek Walker, and he'll pick up the first down. Derek Thomas makes the tackle.
As we mentioned earlier, Charlie, one of the things that they've been having a hard time doing today, I mean, it was great there on first down for Butts to get the 8-yarder, but in the first half, they just haven't been able to run the ball.
You mean for Bernstein? Butts not playing today.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry.
There you get a chance to see it today. Only 37 yards, but on the season, close to 141 yards rushing per game. And, of course, you have to attribute an awful lot of that to the fact that one Marion Butts is not playing today.
And here is Bernstein. And he is running with much more authority than he was in the first quarter, as if now he has settled down, been hit a few times, back off of the injury reserve list, been out for 4 weeks, and now running like everybody expects him to run.
My guess is a couple of people by the name of Broderick Thompson and Courtney Hall and Frank Cornish and Leo Goaz pulled him aside and said, hey, partner, north and south, baby, north and south.
And in the leather jacket that is Marion Butts. And when I talked to the locker room, he thought yesterday that he still could play, and then he limped away from me to a meeting. There's no way he could just barely walk. And here's Bernstein to the 40. That'll be close to the first down. Griffin with the tackle.
You know, I've mentioned this before, Charlie, and I take a little flack for this, but, you know, players know that. Not me. No. I mean, not everybody is Pete Rose, and they remember every single stat. But believe me, if you have a chance to lead the league in rushing, to get your name up there with the greats, come on.
Oh,
you want a shot at it.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And here's Marion Butts, who really is having a dream season. A 7th-round pick from Florida State, who they picked up. Hey, they brought this guy in to be a blocking back. Now it turns out he's one of the premier runners in the NFL. You want to finish up a season like this on the field, not wearing a jacket on the sidelines.
Third down, less than a yard for the first down. Bernstein gets the first down.
Even though it is a nice jacket, a very nice leather jacket he's got on, by the way.
Percy Snow with the tackle. Marty Schottenheimer, interesting comment on Percy Snow, said he would not buy the program right from the get-go, and so he said, but then he figured out the techniques that we were teaching were working, and he wanted to do certain things, and they were holding, and he figured out that if he did what we taught him, he could play a lot better, and now he is.
Now, when you're a Butkus Award winner and a first-round pick, you're inclined to believe your own report.
Play action fake by Tolliver. All along is Miller on the far side. It'll be close to the first down. Let's see where they might.
Anthony Miller.
And that's a discretionary mark either way.
Well, for some reason, they're in some sort of roll-up zone. Craig McEwen, rather, runs a corner route and draws Kevin Ross deep. And you're right, having Anthony Miller that wide open is very surprising, since this is the main thrust of the passing game for the San Diego Chargers.
And it's a first down. Did somebody just blow on coverage?
No, this is what you call respect for speed. Look how far off he is. He just keeps backpedaling and backpedaling and backpedaling. Who's on him? Holy cow. I guess John Dunn was right. No man is an island. But he never saw Anthony Miller out there. Did you like that? John Dunn, no man is an island?
Yes.
I thought you liked it.
I didn't like it that well, though.
Oh,
I was still trying to find out why Kevin Ross was so far away from it.
Yeah, well, as I say, he rolled back because he saw McEwen in the corner and didn't want to get beat deep.
Cox is in motion. Play action fake. Tolliver looks right, cuts back left, pass is complete. Should be the first down to Nate Lewis. Are they picking on Kevin Ross all of a sudden? Do they see something on that side?
Well, of course, Kevin Ross on the injury report this week was questionable with a groin injury, so that might have something to do with his more conservative play. He does seem to be playing off a little bit deeper than he normally is.
Kansas City, 16.
10:46 and counting, opening drive of the second half. And it's a first down at the 16. Miller in motion. Here's Bernstein. There's nothing there. He'll lose a yard. Chris Martin makes the tackle.
You know, Chris Martin doesn't get his due. I realize that most of the attention should be focused on someone like Derek Thomas, who has 18.5 sacks and is really a guy that can really fly all over the field. Interesting thing about Chris Martin that I read, that over the last 3 years that he's been there with the Kansas City organization, he has not missed a single off-season workout.
Ooh,
that's some serious dedication, isn't it?
That is. Also, I short him. He got that sack in the first half that I didn't pick up. He now has a total of 6 on the year, and the Chiefs have 58, number 1 in the National Football League. 2nd and 11. Incomplete. Anthony Miller broke it off. Leonard Griffin was putting the pressure on Billy Joe. And again, Jerry was going for the interception.
Nate Lewis is going to come back and say, oh, gee, Billy Joe, I was wide open down the middle of the field. But you know what happens there is you go to your favorite guys and go to the guys you're used to. Take a look at number 81, Nate Lewis, on the post pattern right here. Break to the post. Wide. Where is everybody? Oh, no, throw it to me. Look at him right there. Oh, shoot. Nuts.
And now it is 3rd down and 11. But 3rd down and anything short of this, Deron Cherry said that Tolliver will go to either Anthony Miller or to Ronnie Harmon. So that's who they're trying to take the play away from. Dropped underneath to Harmon to the 40-yard line, maybe the 3. Chris Martin with the tackle. He is having a great game.
Ronnie Harmon ran what we call a swirl route. What it appears to be, if you watch number 33, it looks like it's going to be a flat. Now watch when he curls back in. Whoops. Chris Martin overextends himself. He curls back, and he's got some running room in the middle of the field. Nice route there by Ronnie Harmon. When he looks back to the quarterback, that gives him the illusion that he's going to the flat, and then he circles back. Ronnie Harmon last week had a career high 8 catches for 116 yards. So there's a man that can do it coming out of the backfield.
And 6 for 62 with almost a half to go. 9 minutes left in the 3rd. Here's Bernstein over the top. Yes, he makes it.
Oh, man. My basketball playing son Toby would say, Rodney Bernstein's got some hops. Take a look at this in the middle right here. He takes off at about the, look at that, the 4-yard line. Oh, man. Terrific jump. And give credit to that offensive line, particularly the right side, that enabled him to do that without any white shirts. Nice job there by Broderick Thompson and Courtney Hall.
Carney with the extra point, and it is good. Kansas City 21, San Diego 14 on the opening drive of the 2nd half. 8 minutes and 52 seconds, time remaining 3rd quarter. Kansas City now leads by 7, 21-14. San Diego Chargers opening drive of the 2nd half.
Rod Bernstein on the touchdown, showing that vertical jump. It reminded me of a little bit of history, a 4-touchdown Rose Bowl game. What was that cat's name, Charlie?
Sam Bam Cunningham, USC.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Very good. By the way, he's got a little brother that plays in the pros. What's his name again? Quarterback.
Little Bam.
Randolph. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Kansas City 31-yard line. Opening drive of the 2nd half for the Chiefs, and they start off with Barry Word. Now let's check the Hertz 10-minute ticker. Just of the late games, New Orleans now at halftime up on the 49ers by 3, and the Giants lead Phoenix by 3 in a close one. And here it is Kansas City 21 and San Diego 14.
You mentioned the importance of the opening drive for the Chargers to go down and score, Charlie. It's just as important here to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, because really they have yet to really prove that they can stop the Chiefs at all.
2nd down. Play action fake. The Birds pass is complete to Stephon Page. Page to the 40-yard line, about a yard shy of the 1st down.
You know, we were mentioning the Cunninghams.
And Page starts to get up and then kind of rocks back and looks as if the small of his back is bothering him just a bit.
Look at his pants, too. Look at how high his pants are. That's pretty dangerous for those knees, just in case somebody might get a piece of that. Here he just swirls right in the middle, finds the gap, takes the hit right there. I think that last body that fell on top of him, you can see the ball right there in the ribs. He's just a little shaken up. He'll be all right.
The speedsters more and more in the NFL going those pants that stop just above the knee, so that it makes them feel like they're faster, and they may be.
I think that has something to do with it. I know that, you know, I was one of those speedsters that didn't wear them that way.
And justifiably so. Very word.
And for good reason.
Picks up the first down.
Boy, I can't sneak anything past this guy.
Not when I get 8 hours sleep. First down at the 42. Stephon Page, number 83, is right over there behind Jonathan Hayes.
Well, they're not really looking at anything. Like I say, I think he's just shook up a little bit. You're right. He took a little bit of a hit in the small of his back, but I think he should return.
42-yard line, first down. Not good. Good defensive play. Bert Grossman, he's having a good ball game.
Yes, he is. He's been in there a couple of times. He's duplicated last year's production total in terms of sacks with another 10. The debate with Bert Grossman as to whether or not he can play the run. You can see right here, he gets right into Bert's face, makes a nice play.
Grossman got me yesterday in the locker room. I said, "Hi, Bert, how are you?" He said, "Are you having all those garage sales in La Jolla?" And I said, "What? What about garage?" And I walk away, and you can hear the background.
Oh, wow. Rough crowd. And this coming from a man who gets his clothes rent to own.
Here's Bill Jones. 48-yard line.
Bill Jones, brought down by Gary Plummer.
Trap play to the fullback. The fullback doesn't get to run the ball too much in this offense. Just goes to show the creativity of Joe Petrie here, trying to break things up as we head now to a big 3rd and 4 play.
And number 25, Vincey Glenn for the Chargers. That cervical strain in the first half questionable. He is back in the ball game.
You know, he told us yesterday, besides the fact that he wasn't feeling so well, he says, yeah, but you got to be out there. You got to be out there and make the plays.
And he said, we know that we're better than last year. We want to win the last 2 and finish at 8-8. DeBerg takes the timeout. When he turns, there were 2 seconds on the play clock.
That's heads up. Big difference between 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 9.
6:01 is the time remaining. We're in the 3rd quarter. Here at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, and we'll step aside and be back in a moment. On the 23rd of December, you got it. You want to stay close to the man.
Well, I tell you what, they're checking the list and going over it. I don't know how many times. Look at the list in his left hand, though. That's a very small list. There have been a lot of bad people out there this year.
The man in the green cap is from the NFL. Santa Claus is our commercial coordinator. He makes sure that we get the right timeout. We call him the man in the orange sleeves, but right now he's the man in the red jacket with a ho-ho-ho. And here's the man in the red helmet and a ho-ho incomplete. And a flag is down. J.J. Burton, the intended receiver.
Foot on the left side with 3 receivers. It appears to me that they might be calling a pick play here, or defensive holding. Too bad.
Penalty flag on the field.
And that was 3rd down and 4, and so Kansas City
Holding.
will have a first
Number
down.
28 defense. First down.
Holding on Donnie Elder.
That's a big play there. It's an incomplete pass. They had the touchdown earlier. The momentum is going their way at home. Force them to punt. Tough call for the defense of the Chargers. Chiefs now with 3 tight end offense. Definitely trying to run the ball here.
First down at the 47-yard line. And Barry Word gets the call. When we talked to Barry yesterday, he said, if DeBerg needs help, I just want to be able to deliver.
Henry Rawling made a nice play there. Henry Rawling replaces Sammy Seal in that set because when they go to 3 tight ends, obviously you don't need the other cornerback. Now they go back to the wide receiver and Seal comes in, and you'd have to say that Henry Rawling definitely did his job there.
DeBerg with pressure in the back. Leslie O'Neal and Bert Grossman putting on the pressure.
Bert Grossman doing a good job from the left side. Top of your screen, you'll see him come underneath. Nice swim move there. Avoids two people to get right in the face of DeBerg. Both he and O'Neal are relentless from the defensive end positions. We mentioned earlier the fact that Kansas City leads the NFL in sacks now with 58 coming into the game. San Diego was second in the NFL with 42.
DeBerg, a slow second half, only 1 of 4 completions for 5 yards. And this is 3rd and 11. 4 wide receivers, 6 in the secondary. Passes to Emil Harry, and he is nailed and cannot hold on to it. Boy, there is a highlight film collision.
I'm telling you right now, Charlie, that Gilbert is trying to make up for all those votes he didn't get in the Pro Bowl with that hit, and Emil Harry pays the price. Terrific throw by DeBerg with O'Neal hanging all over, but you come into the middle of the field and you can get hit right there. What a shot. The ball comes loose, incomplete pass. Big, big hit for Gilbert.
And this is Bert Grossman. This is back at the 41-yard line. This is Grossman.
You get a chance to see once again Grossman coming up the field. He loops to the outside. Now watch DeBerg get sandwiched. Wow. And still put it right on the money. Take a look at that finger. We'll get a chance to see if it's bothering him at all. Oh, it almost slipped through. Look at that. He caught the back end of the football. Still the hit. Take a look. He takes the hit right there and put the ball right on the money, right between the 8 and the 6 for Emil Harry.
And Grossman took the hit from Leslie O'Neal. He caught his helmet right in the stomach when he came across.
Isn't that something? Right when we said the game wasn't too physical, that there was no defense, and that's when it happens.
Yeah.
Never fails.
Meanwhile, shaking the cobwebs loose is Emil. He took a shot.
You got a chance to see Emil Harry's face right there as he is screaming. He's in effect saying, I'm not hurt. That didn't bug me at all.
No.
Because you know right there the defenders are taunting him. Look at his eyes. He's not happy about it at all because he almost hung on to this ball. Look at that. He's got it. Bang.
Oh, wait a minute.
That could have been
Wait a minute. We have not had a review. Let's look at that. Let's look at that again. We may want to review that.
I think that's what he's angry about. This is what he's screaming at the official about is, yes, I did make the catch.
Because remember the time-worn statement, the ground cannot cause a fumble. Does he have possession when he hits the ground?
I don't think do his feet ever touch the ground here.
Well,
1, 2.
Oh, I tell you, that's very close to being a completion.
Certainly is. Still a big hit, and that can really ignite a defense. Look at how excited all the Chargers get, not just Gilbert. Look at Glenn, look at Bayless, look at Frank. Look at them all, how excited they are for him. Look at that.
And Emil saying, now, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Yes. Now, we understand that that play has been reviewed, and it is ruled not a catch. I still think it might be a catch.
Take a look right there. That's what he's debating about with Marty. And Marty tells him, back off. Don't get in trouble. He's saying that the ball pops up in the air. Do both feet come down with the completion?
You watch the ball. I watch the feet. I watch the feet.
One
down.
Second foot get down.
Now.
Right there. It sure does.
Down.
Now. He
has possession, and the ball hits, and that comes out. I say it's a completion.
Could be.
The only thing, I think they're going to take an instant replay away from us, and it won't be near as much fun because I love to debate with them.
And I was just about to say, it's funny. This is why you're in this booth, and those guys are in that booth down there a little ways.
We're still waiting the injury report on Bert Grossman. As you can see, obviously, that he will be taken from the field, and they have x-ray equipment here at the stadium in case that is necessary. Meanwhile, we'll take an injury timeout and be back in just a moment.
As you see right here, Bert Grossman cuts the outside. Now watch what happens when he jumps and Leslie O'Neal. Ouch! Right there in the stomach, right close to the sternum even. Where does the helmet land? Oh, man. Right, look at the pain. You can see it right there. He is in some real pain there.
And here is the kick by Barker. Fair catch is called for by Kittrick Taylor. And San Diego will take over with 4:56 left to go in the third. And here's how Grossman looked when he was carted from the field.
A little uncertain there. You get your inside shook up. I can vouch for that. I remember getting hit like that. Boy, that's a drag.
And now let's check the Hertz 10-minute ticker.
How appropriate to call it the Hertz 10-minute ticker after that shot, huh?
Oh, you found one. Yes.
Yeah, well.
San Diego at their own 19-yard line. With a first down, trailing by 7, 21-14. And here's Bernstein, fumbles. Did he fall back on it? He didn't? I thought he saw it pop loose.
No, it must have been helmet. He hung on the whole time.
Okay, Salimua with the tackle.
Not very happy with himself because that was actually a pretty big hole and he backed into it. Once again, he needs that lecture from one of the linemen. Run tough, man.
Second down and 6. We think fractured ribs is the report that Grossman has. That is the preliminary report. Second down. San Diego's second possession of the second half. Well, this is what the Chargers have been expecting from this man as he goes to the 35 and carries the defense with him. 46 yards and 11 carries.
You know what I don't understand about this is that just the play before, he's kind of tentatively backing in. Now look at that, the high knees running tough right in the hole right here, carrying tacklers with him. There you see Albert Lewis trying to strip the ball as well as Percy Snow. Takes 4 people to get him down.
Maybe like what you said, they talked to him in the huddle.
Well, of course, I talked to him yesterday in the locker room. And of course, a lot of that, I'm sure, contributed to his running a lot harder.
Yes, because when you walked away, he turned to me and said, "Who was that?"
I was a running back once. What are you talking about?
You were drafted as a running back. Play action fake. Almost intercepted. Excellent defensive coverage by Albert Lewis. And Billy Joe Tolliver tried to force this into Miller, and that's a problem this youngster has.
Terrific job by Albert Lewis. And it's tough when he comes out in motion because right there you see he runs with him stride for stride. He looks back, makes a nice adjustment. The ball is underthrown. I can't harp enough the fact that they need to establish another wideout along with Anthony Miller, but because it seems to me that every time he gets in that situation, Tolliver consistently goes to Miller whether he's covered or not.
Albert Lewis going to the Pro Bowl, and you know about this. He said, in the Pro Bowl, you can go to school on the other players. Second down. This one he throws into double coverage, and this one is dropped by Anthony Miller. Boy, he can drill it in. Great pass.
Nice to know that he was listening to me. I just said, why does he throw to this guy whether he's double or triple covered? What a catch that Anthony Miller makes right here. How does this come about? Great coverage there by both Ross and Derek Thomas, but nice catch. Those tackified gloves paid off again.
Miller, 4 receptions, 37 yards, touchdown. And it's a first down Chargers at the 49-yard line. They're over. And here's Bernstein, slips 1 tackle. And he'll dive for about. Interesting, when he gets fancy, it doesn't work. When he runs straight ahead, it works for Bernstein.
Well, in that case, he actually made more out of that. Chris Martin did a good job of stringing it out. He made him, he ended up with a 3-yard gain.
But only after he headed up
out of something that should have been a 2-yard loss. You can see right there. Look at right there. You can see Porter making the play. He's 5-6 yards in the backfield. Right there, he makes some sweet moves to get out of there and get a 3-yard gain. He has a tendency. It's okay if you do that to the outside because that's where you have room. But when you're running upfield between the tackles, you got to be a lot more hard-nosed.
Play action fake. Double coverage. Incomplete. Nate Lewis, the intended receiver. Cherry and Ross were there for Kansas City.
Tolliver took a shot from the backside there, but he really aired that one out. That was close to 60 yards in the air. Here when he comes to the right, you can see he's going to take that shot from the backside and let it air out. And Nate Lewis appears like he might have a shot at this.
Kevin Ross makes the play.
He did. He just got a piece of it. Right from the backside, Percy Snow delivers.
Third down and 7. Pass is complete at the 45-yard line to Lewis. But that's not going to be enough. Kevin Ross was there for the defense. Be a gain of 3, so it'll be 4th down.
Again, the difficulty of not getting to your secondary receiver. That's all he could see. So what may appear on the surface like a bad play isn't, because now he gets a chance to pin him inside the 20 and let the defense take over. Because if he doesn't make that throw, he gets sacked.
For John Kidd, his 3rd punt of the ball game. And J.J. Burton is the return man. With Cleveland, and then he blew out a knee and did 2 years of rehab. And Marty Schottenheimer picked him up, and he is really produced for Kansas City. He got it at the 3-yard line. The Chargers holding a convoy 42 yards.
Excellent kick by John Kidd. That's exactly what you want inside the 20, is to hang it up and get that soft bounce on the grass if the receiver lets it go. Nice play there by Gary Plummer, who, by the way, is also the leading tackler for the Chargers with 91 coming into the game. Everybody waiting for it. That's what you call the charity bounce. You can't get any better than that.
So Kansas City takes over on their own 3-yard line, and they have a 1st down, and they lead 21-14, 33 punts inside the 20 in 1985, holding the NFL record. And right now, Kansas City holds the ball and the lead, but it's only 7 as the 3rd quarter winds down. Barry Word gets the call. When we talked with Barry Word yesterday, he said if I had not hurt my shoulder in the Berlin game, I would be a blocking back. Finish that story.
Well, I think that's very interesting. He said that he just wanted to get on the roster. That's all he cared about. And, of course, because they had the league's leading rusher from last year, you'd have figured the last thing they needed was another running back. So once he hurt his shoulder in that exhibition game, he was forced to make the team as either a runner or nothing at all. And as it turned out, well, the rest is history.
And they gave him a shot as a running back, and he proved that he could. Because with the bad shoulder, it hurt too much to block. And here he is again. And he leans out to about the 7-yard line. It'll be 3rd down as we will wind down the 3rd quarter.
Bring your friends. We have fun. The first thing we can do.
Kansas City Chiefs leading by a touchdown here heading into the 4th quarter on their own 7-yard line. The magnitude of this game can't be underemphasized, and Marty Schottenheimer realizes that. They need to win today to secure a playoff spot, which would be only their 2nd in the last 20 years.
3rd down. Incomplete. McNair, the intended receiver, O'Neal was putting the pressure on, and also add to the mix that San Diego have excellent field position following this kick.
Leslie O'Neal is absolutely relentless. One of the things as a defensive lineman that you get frustrated by is that you continue to come in, you don't get the sack, and then all of a sudden you get lazy. You say, well, forget it, I'm not trying anymore. Leslie O'Neal does not have a sack today, but he must have at least 5 or 6 hurries. Leslie O'Neal has been in DeBerg's face all day, particularly in the 2nd half.
Barker with the punt. Kittrick Taylor drops back to the 45. Good coverage. He's the 50. Breaks it. He's to the 40. He's to the 30. To the 20. He's going to score. Yards on the return.
What a terrific block by Lester Lyles, and it was awfully close to being a clip. Barker gets off a terrific punt, but the punt enables Taylor to take his time and go the distance. How exciting.
John Carney for the tie.
Barker does exactly what he's supposed to do. He gets off about a 50-yard punt, but look at the distance that he has to mess around. Now watch the block. Watch the block right here. Terrific block right there by Vincey Glenn, who gets Chris Martin out of the way. That opens the big gap for him. You can see right there, Donnie Eller gets the punter out of the way. Taylor goes the distance. Vincey Glenn, who we've been talking about all day, is having some problems. He makes the big block right here on number 57, right there on Chris Martin. That gave him the gap. Now, I don't really count the block on the punter because that guy's not much of a tackler anyway, but still, give Elder some credit. That opened another gap for him.
Now, if you're a Kansas City fan and you're watching back in the cold of the Midwest, you're going to look at that block and say, that was blocking in the back. They did not drop the flag. Did the officials miss it?
No, they didn't. The initial hit was on the front. The second part of it ended up, he landed on his stomach, and it appears it's automatic. If you get a chance to look at it again, definitely not a clip. Nice move by Vincey Glenn to enable Taylor to go the distance.
55 yards on the punt return for Kitrick Taylor. And the ball game is tied at 21-21. And now John Carney, who just tied it with the extra point, will be kicking off to either James Saxon or to Fred Jones.
Buffalo 24, Miami 14. Final score, Atlanta 20.
14:39, time remaining in the last home game of the year for San Diego. At the 8 to the 15, 20. Flag is down as he returns just across the 25. 2 flags dropped back at the 16-yard line. Tim Spencer with the tackle for San Diego. Now we'll check out the flags.
They're going to catch Dante Whitaker for tackling Cedric Figaro.
Very well said.
I'm so sorry.
I know you should have, yes.
Come on, that name.
I know.
How can I leave that alone?
You shouldn't. I'm just surprised it took you this long in the season to do it.
Well, if his last name was Aida, I'd have done the same thing.
Illegal block during the return. Number 27 receiving team. First down.
So Kansas City will start from their 9-yard line, first down. Put a little excitement into your holiday as the NBA at NBC present a special jam session on Christmas Day. More about that in a moment. DeBerg steps away, completes the pass to Barry Word, and he leans across the 10 to the 11-yard line. And that is only Barry Word's 3rd reception of the year.
That's interesting because he actually is a pretty good pass catcher coming out of the backfield, but Todd McNair has pretty much usurped that role for himself. Give credit to Ron Lynn. Whatever adjustments he has made at halftime for these San Diego Chargers are definitely paying off.
And it was George Hinkle putting the pressure on the bird. And here is Word to the 20, 34-yard line. He's got the first down. Martin Bayless finally brings him down after a pickup of 12.
The Chiefs needed that first down big time, the way their offense had been going. Barry Word gets a big gap on the right side of the offensive line. Good job there once again.
19 carries, 71 yards.
He needs to average 82 the last 2 games for him to get 1,000 yards. And it was interesting, one of the other things we discussed with Barry Word yesterday was how disappointed he was to not get named to the Pro Bowl.
Yes, he said it would have been icing on the cake. And here is Barry Word again. He also said, after all the adversity that he's had over the last few years, it's been well documented. He said, this year, I appreciate it so much more.
I think that's right. And I think you hear people all the time, Charlie, say, well, I've paid my dues. When you listen to Barry Word say he's paid his dues, he's telling the truth.
Second down
and 4. Significant statistics. There you get a chance to see it.
That's his comparison with Bo Jackson. 9 games taken. We'll come back to that, because you got to spend a little time with these numbers. Word carries, Hinkle with the tackle. And let's look at that, because you say Bo Jackson, he comes on late in the season. Everybody has had training camp and played a lot. Well, Word did not really play that much early in the season, although, of course, he was there. Through 9 games, that's coming into this one. Bo Jackson through the 8 that he has had, and that's a good comparison of the two backs.
And his point was that he has no debate about whether or not Bo Jackson is a great player.
Oh, he thinks he is.
Yeah, in fact, he says he might be the best in the league if he's there the entire season. But you got to give credit to the guys that have been there from the very beginning. Once again, the whole idea of substance over style.
Oh, I like that. Third down and 2. Just looping it out on a tiny corner. And it is incomplete. I'm surprised not with the call, but with the throw.
You're going to love this. I know you love this historical thing. Y.A. Tittle, R.C. Owens. Did that look just like an alley-oop?
The alley-oop, but you've got to go for it.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Once again, the Chargers do a great job defensively. Come on the blitz with Martin Bayless, and right there, he gets rid of it a little sooner than he wanted to. He's got single coverage, but that throw, man, oh man.
Strange throw.
Looks like a jump shot. Very high arcing jumper there.
And now here's Kitrick Taylor, the man who tied the game or came within one with a fair catch. And San Diego, after that punt of 35 yards, will take over on their own 33-yard line, tied 21-21 with 11:38 left to go in the fourth quarter. We'll be back in a moment.
The National Football League is brought to you by Oldsmobile. Stop by your Oldsmobile dealer and see what's new from the new generation of Olds. By Northwest Airlines. Northwest's World Perks free travel program lets you fly free fast. By Tylenol Cold. Nobody cares for your cold like Tylenol Cold. And by Zenith. The quality goes in before the name goes on.
This is Charlie Jones and Todd Christensen. 11:38 left to go. Ball game tied 21-21. And remember, if Kansas City wins today, they're in the playoffs. If they win today and win next week, and the Raiders lose to San Diego next week, then they will win the West. But first things first, right now, they want to make the playoffs. Here's Rod Bernstein. And, of course, San Diego, here he goes. He continues to plow to the 40-yard line. He's got 6.
You know, this is one of the things that the refs hardly ever call. Very interesting. Frank Cornish ends up pushing him from the backside, and we have a player down right now. I believe it's Joel Patton.
Yes, it is. Now, Leo Goaz is injured earlier, and Joel Patton was injured in the first half, and then he had to come out for a little while. That's not.
And now Percy Snow is down.
Percy Snow is down.
This has been a very different game. Two very distinct halves.
Yes. Yes. And there is Patton, who is down.
Percy Snow, you can see right there, 59, taking on head down, taking on Rod Bernstein. Now watch what happens. He gets folded underneath all the bodies. Look at the right leg. Pushing forward. Watch him come in. Watch 59, Percy Snow. Watch his right leg. Take a look at his right leg as the combination of all those bodies piling on. Ow! And his left leg gets rolled under as well by Broderick Thompson. See Cornish from the back pushing ahead. That actually is not legal. You cannot assist the running back in doing that, but it very rarely gets called. That's very reminiscent, if you saw that left knee and how it got caught underneath there, of the Jim Kelly injury that occurred on Saturday against the Giants last.
So we have a timeout, and we'll be back in just a moment. Floyd is now the left tackle. Rob McGovern is in the defense for Kansas City. It is second down and 4. And here is Bernstein. Oh, boy, outside his goal. And he goes inside the 40-yard line. A man who has to prove himself to the Charger team that he is tough.
Wow, he cut to the outside. What a move he put on Kevin Ross. You know, we've been singing the praises of Albert Lewis as a Pro Bowler. Kevin Ross this year was a Pro Bowler as well. But he doesn't look like it right here. Watch the shifty hips here. Boink, boink. Look out. Goodbye. Boy, oh, boy. I wonder if the Juice is watching this back in New York. He'd love this. What a run. And a running back, number 82. He's got to change that. Boy, oh, boy. Nice run by Rodney Bernstein.
21 yards. His total is 76. 39-yard line of Kansas City. Tolliver rolls, throws a little behind Bernstein, but he catches it, and he's down at 37. Fumbles. And San Diego has the ball.
That's what you would call a judicious bounce. That bounced right out to Anthony Miller, I believe, is the one who made the recovery. You know, Rod Bernstein was a tight end in college. You know, he made the adjustment. In fact, I remember Steve Ortmeyer, then the general manager of the Chargers, telling me this was the next Pro Bowl tight end, Bernstein. Stripped right there. Look at that bounce. Right up. Right to Anthony Miller.
And it is Anthony Miller who has the recovery. It is second down and 6.
And of course, Kansas City is a very opportunistic defense. Not only force fumbles, but they have 40 takeaways, which leads the NFL far and away.
This time Bernstein is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Mike Bell was there.
Veteran player Mike Bell from Colorado State. His 11th year in the league.
Program note, Isaiah Thomas of the world champion Detroit Pistons will tangle with Michael Jordan and Central Division rival the Chicago Bulls. That's the annual Christmas Day NBA Classic beginning at 3 o'clock Eastern Time at NBA Showtime, hosted by Bob Costas and Pat Riley. Christmas Day, NBC is the place to be.
Charlie, the Pistons had lost 7 of 8 until just a week ago. Recently, they played the Bulls at home and took them out by 20, so the Bulls will be looking for some revenge.
Pressure from the backside. Callaway gets the pass out. They may rule in the grass.
Charlie, I don't think they're going to rule in the grass, but I think what happened is that Billy Joe's knee went down.
Derek Thomas with the pressure, number 58 for Kansas City.
Once again, look at the angle Derek Thomas takes. He feels like he's so fast that even if he gets pushed out, he can come back, and that's exactly what he does. Now watch the knee right there.
I'm not sure it was down.
I don't know either, now that you mention it.
I think it was in the grass. Anyway, it's there.
Well, either way, it's going to be a sack for Thomas as he goes down right here. I don't know. You know, after all those plays earlier in the game, Charlie, where we watched that, we thought that Jerry Seaman was letting it go. That's kind of iffy, particularly on a big third down like that for the Chargers. But
well, if he gives Thomas a sack, he now is 19 and a half. That was Eric Floyd that he got around, and that is the third left tackle that San Diego has had in the ballgame. This would be a delay of game. Now, Kansas City may refuse it, but I think that San Diego would like a little more room to kick with.
I think Kansas City should take this penalty.
Really?
Yeah, because John Kidd is not a long-distance kicker.
Delay of game. Offense. Still fourth down.
But he wants to just drop it into the soft grass again.
Well, again, as our graphic pointed out earlier, this guy's an expert at it. He holds the NFL record, 33 inside the 20. So this guy knows what he's doing, whether it's the 42 or the 47. Come on, it's probably inconsequential.
No, I think they planned it that way. They wanted to move the ball. San Diego wanted the ball back so he could have a little more room there to work with.
What are you, Kreskin now?
Oh, yeah.
So you can
yes.
read the
great Kreskin. A flag is down. Here is Burton on the return. He's out to the 40 and then out of bounds. But Parker back at the, I have one at the 16-yard line. Is there one back on the other side of the field at the 6?
That would usually indicate, is it the number of people on the field? Yes, that's right. Kansas City had one too many. They'll definitely want that back. The Chargers made a big mistake there. Their sprinters came down the field anticipating the fact that this would be an inside the 20 situation. They just let him go. He ran up the field unencumbered because they figured everybody's going to down the ball.
Meanwhile, the clock has moved to 8:03, so there's a lot of time remaining here in the fourth quarter. Ball game is tied at 21-21.
There's a flag back by the punter as well. This could be offsetting.
Running into the kicker, number 29 defense. That penalty is accepted. We had 12 men on the field. Defense. That penalty will be declined. Fourth down.
Now running into the kicker, not an automatic first down. So it's a 5-yard penalty, be fourth down again.
Well, either choice doesn't matter. They're 5 yards. He feels like he can get it right there. He extends the foot a little bit. I don't know.
That's ticky-tack. I think Albert Lewis was trying to avoid it.
He was. But Kidd, like a smart punter, leaves his foot extended. That's the veteran punter for you. A nice little spin move there at the end. Would have made Scott Hamilton proud.
They say get away from it, and it's going to be down inside the 5. Just shy, inches away from the goal line.
Well, just as I said earlier, Sammy Lilly made a mistake. Not this time. Look at him waiting for the ball. Look at him wave to it. Look at him go. Come on, come on, come on, baby. Come to me, come to me. Yeah, perfect. Doesn't get any better than that.
And then he leads the cheer.
You think punters aren't valuable. This is the reason that they brought John Kidd back off of Plan B from Buffalo. Look how excited he is. Not only is John Kidd a terrific punter, but John Kidd is the holder. And Charlie, John Carney told me that that was one of the reasons he felt like he was having such a good season, is because John Kidd is one of the best inside the 20 punters, as well as one of the best holders in the league. Players like this may seem like a big deal. He's a punter. He doesn't do that much, but he is invaluable to this team.
Kansas City at their own 1-yard line. Play action fake from the end zone. Pass is complete to Bill Jones, and he is out of bounds at about the 2. It'll be second down.
Charlie, very courageous call on the part of Steve DeBerg, particularly in light of the second half he's having. After having such a good first half, he's been struggling throwing the ball in the second half. Take a look at those numbers. First half, we were talking about how inhuman he was. Now all of a sudden, he's come back to reality, so to speak. 3 for 8, only 9 yards.
Second and 8. And now Barry Word goes to the 5. Junior Seau with the tackle. Gary Plummer was also there. And Gerald Robinson was there. It'll be third down. Third down and 6. The ball at the 5-yard line. Moving on the 7-minute mark. Time remaining. And right now, at least, that playoff spot for Kansas City is slipping away. Well, they've got to get back in it right here.
I was about to say, forgive me for being cliche, but this right here is the biggest play of the game so far.
Pass is complete to McNair. He's got the first down. Out to the 30, the 40, the 50. He'll be caught, but he gets to the 30-yard line or the 29-yard line of San Diego. It was third down and 6 at the 5, 65 yards of the play of the game.
Terrific call by Joe Pendry and the offensive staff of the Kansas City Chiefs. A screen pass right in the middle. You'll see McNair hide right in the middle. Right. Henry Rawling has him man for man, but can't make the tackle right there, and he's off to the races. Nice move there by Todd McNair. Interesting point yesterday. Marty Schottenheimer told us they had put him on waivers. He was on the practice squad last year. He was available for anybody to take, and they didn't. And now he has fulfilled the role for the Chiefs as their third down back.
Here's Word. Inside the 25 to the 24, maybe the 23. Martin Bayless with the tackle. And it was slipping away a moment ago. The Chiefs have wrapped their arms all around it. We're still tied at 21-21. You get a feel for the ball game. The Chiefs now in control on that one play to McNair.
Well, the Chargers up to that point had been making the big plays in the second half. You can see a beleaguered Dan Henning. You know, he mentioned last week they played Denver. They run up and down the field. They have 400 yards in total offense, but only 10 points. Now in the second half, they make a very valiant comeback. Now one big play from the 5-yard line.
Word to the 16. He's got the first down. Junior Seau with the tackle.
See, the defense for the Chargers at this point, Charlie, has to regroup. They're a little bit stunned, and now they're sticking it down their throats with Barry Word. And this is where the defense for the Chargers has to rise to the occasion. The veteran players now have to understand that, listen, we can get a little bit of a victory here by forcing them to kick the field goal.
That 65-yard pass play to Todd McNair is the 7th time this year that DeBerg has a completion over 60 yards, so he does go deep. Sometimes the receivers go deep more. And Word again. Seau and O'Neal on the tackle. Of course, Kansas City is also using up the clock. 4:23 and counting. So they want to use up as much time as possible, at least a field goal. But they want to give San Diego almost no time remaining.
Well, this is interesting. Interesting what Henning has to be thinking of right here, because you're absolutely right. The Chiefs are definitely going to work on the clock because they're more than just a little bit confident in Nick Lowry, who's having the best year of any field goal kicker in the league. So the Chargers might consider here possibly calling a timeout to set up this third down.
DeBerg with pressure, steps away, but throws back, and he's caught. They'll lose yardage on it, but the clock continues to move. Jonathan Hayes Myers with the reception.
I know that this is going to sound silly, but that was a big play for DeBerg. All it looks like right now is a 4-yard loss with a pass play. But if he gets tackled back on the 32-yard line where it appeared he might be, they could come up 4th down with a 50-yard attempt. And I know Nick Lowry's a terrific kicker, but that's a 50% proposition. This is a great job right here by DeBerg just getting rid of the ball. And, of course, the receiver in this case would have been a lot more heads up just to let it hit his chest and drop. But there's the savvy of the veteran quarterback right there, escaping a sack and a big loss.
But on the other hand, the clock is moving. It's 3:12 with the reception and counting. This pass is complete at the 15-yard line. And now the field goal team will be coming in. Will Bird and Sam Seo with a tackle on Rob Thomas.
We mentioned Nick Lowry. What a tremendous year Nick Lowry is having. Most accurate kicker in NFL history right there at 78.6. This year he is 28 for 31. And with his
15 straight.
That's right. And with his 121 points this year, he leads the NFL in scoring.
And San Diego has taken a timeout. Part of that's to stop the clock, I think, though. With 2:50 to go, time remaining in the ballgame.
And maybe a little psychology here. Why? I know he's a veteran kicker. I know he's been around. Why not freeze him out?
I don't think you can ice that man.
Oh, I don't think so either. But hey, give it a shot.
Coming up next, except for those in the West Coast, it's Hall High. And then an NBC News special, First Person with Maria Shriver, followed by an NBC World Premiere movie, Guess Who's Coming for Christmas? That's tonight, only on NBC. He'll be kicking from the 22-yard line. That's an attempt of 32 yards. Of course, well within his range. This year he's hit from 48. In his career, twice from 58 yards away.
I happen to have played in one of those games. The thing, actually, no kidding, the ball that he hit from 58 yards actually went into the screen. If that would have broken Tom Dempsey's record, I'm sure of it. Unbelievable leg.
This is to break the tie. Dead solid perfect.
124 points for Nick Lowry. He's 10th on the all-time list of scorers in the National Football League.
But don't forget that 65-yard pass on 3rd down and 6 at the Kansas City 5-yard line from DeBerg to Todd McNair that really kept it going for Kansas City. And a chance now to take a complete look at the ticker. Why don't you run these down and your comments on Buffalo, Miami, and so.
Well, Buffalo has now clinched home field advantage throughout the playoffs with that victory over Miami. Philadelphia hurts Dallas's chances, but Dallas at 7-8 still has an outside shot of it.
Are you surprised about Houston, Cincinnati?
Yes, I am, particularly the way Houston was playing. But again, the dislocated thumb of Warren Moon is certainly going to be a problem. Pittsburgh clinches a playoff spot now at 9-6.
I'm not sure they've done it yet. I think they have Seattle has to lose, or Cincinnati. I think there's a.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there's something else on Pittsburgh. They're not in right now.
Atlanta defeats the Rams and the Jets in New England in a game that zillions must have watched.
Yeah.
New England, I think they secured the first-round draft pick with that loss. San Francisco, New Orleans tied at 10. San Francisco also has already secured home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And the Giants up by 10 over Phoenix in Arizona.
When you think of the playoffs, I always remember Tom Landry's line when they first went into the wild card, and they said, came down to a weekend like this, and they said, how are you going to be? And he said, on Monday after the last game, if the commissioner calls me, I know we're in the playoff, and he'll tell me who we're playing. Here's Donnie Elder on the return. 2:37 is the time remaining. Kansas City up by 3, 24-21. And next week, Kansas City will be at Chicago. San Diego will be at the Raiders. The Kansas City-Chicago game at noon. Of course, all starting with NFL Live. And then on Sunday, San Diego at the Raiders, and that could be a good ball game as far as the Raiders are concerned. Kansas City, if they go on to win today, have the playoffs. Buffalo, Washington, the early game.
Interesting point quickly on that kickoff. It's interesting the tackle was made by Todd McNair. No rest for the weary.
Tolliver overthrows Ronnie Harmon. So it'll be 2nd down and 10.
You were just mentioning the 65-yard catch, and you think he gets to glory in that, right? Wrong. He's got to run under the kickoff and make the play.
And remember in last week's ball game, he got knocked out.
That's
and
right.
He said it was an out-of-body experience. And then during practice, first time they practiced kickoff, he went down and he fell down just like he did before. And the whole team broke up. 2nd and 10 at the 27-yard line. Here is Harmon. To about the 34-yard line. Solly Manua with the tackle.
Here it is 3rd down. I realize they want to get this play off before the 2-minute warning. This occurs to me right now that Henning must feel like this is 4-down territory.
Oh, I would think so with nothing loose. Knocked away. The flag is down.
Good call. Burris was way too early. Good call by the official. Lloyd Burris plays, in effect, somewhat of a center field. He plays there in the middle. Anything that comes across his face, he takes.
Pass interference. Number 34 defense. First down.
Nate Lewis just wants to sit down in the middle of the field just far enough to get the first down. Burris sees him come across his face, as he will here. Watch number 81. Now Burris sees him come across the face clearly right there, well before the ball got there. Good call by the official.
Just outside the 39-yard line, it's a first down. San Diego in their own territory, trailing by 3. 24-21, just over 2 minutes remaining in the game. Tolliver's pass is complete to Harmon. And he goes to the 48-yard line. Will not pick up the first down. But we move to the 2-minute warning. So we'll step away for a moment as Kansas City leads by 3. Todd Christensen's 2 minutes to go in the ballgame. Kansas City 24, San Diego 21. Chargers with the ball, 2nd and 1 at their own 48-yard line. 4-down territory. I think for San Diego's standpoint, they're out of any chance for the playoffs. They'd like to end up with an 8-8 season, winning this week and winning next week against the Raiders, and a chance maybe to do it.
I was about to say right there, Dan Henning, that fellow to his left is probably somebody he wishes was playing right now, a guy by the name of Charlie Joyner.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Caught a mere 750 passes in his career. Number 18. Clutch guy on 3rd downs into the 2-minute warning as well.
4-man rush. He overthrows Harmon, and Deron Cherry has his 2nd interception of the ball game.
Once again, the fact that Billy Joe Tolliver, right at the snap of the ball, has already decided where he's going to go. Twice now throughout the game, he was able to find Harmon in that seam, but he overthrows him by at least 5 yards here. You can see doesn't even have a chance at it, right in the arms of Deron Cherry, who gets his 2nd interception of the day. And
Deron told us yesterday, Tolliver reminds him of Jay Schrader, said he's inconsistent.
Well, certainly today that's exactly the case, but as you and I have talked, every game that we've had with Jay Schrader, the guy's played great. So
it was what Deron said, not what we said.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he's got his opinion.
Yeah.
What else is he supposed to say about quarterbacks? It's like hitters and pitchers. You never want to admit that the guy can get you out.
That's true. That's true.
You can see right there Henning is saying that to Tolliver. He made his decision way too soon. Right at the snap of the ball, he's looking right at Harmon.
And here is Barry Word. And we'll update you on Barry Word's totals and what he is trying still to accomplish in this outstanding season that he's having.
Well, heading into this game, he needed 164 yards for a chance at 1,000. Now he's 1 yard short of a 100-yard game. He's got 26 carries for 99 yards.
So he is 65 yards away from the 1,000 mark, and of course has the rest of this game, which I'm sure that they'll run him to work on the clock, and also the Saturday game against Chicago.
That'll be a tough one.
Yes.
That'll be a tough one there in Chicago.
Second and 7, the ball at the 48-yard line.
And we were talking about this yesterday, that 1,000 yards. That would be some kind of human interest story for everything that's happened to him. And in lieu of the fact that he didn't get voted into the Pro Bowl, having a 1,000-yard season would be a nice little bone to throw his way.
San Diego with 1 timeout remaining. Kansas City has 2. reaches the 50-yard line, 101, and San Diego will take their last time out here. Billy Ray Smith with the tackle. "27 rushes, 101 yards, and a touchdown today." Let's look forward to Kansas City. They do run out the clock here. They now make the playoffs. How do you assess their chances in the playoffs?
Well, a lot of it depends on how they start. You know, obviously, unless you're the team that has the absolute best record, you know you have to play a road game. Generally speaking, I don't know how good, you know, it's hard to assess these Chiefs on the road. They've won some big games.
Remember what Marty told us yesterday about playing on the road? He said it's not as important where you play as to when you play your opponent.
Well, that's right. But I think what happened last week is that they had a lot of momentum heading into that Houston game, and then they got spanked. Now, if they were to win this game today, that would give them a little bit more redemption, but they have to keep that going. You don't want to go into the playoffs not playing effectively. So they have to not only, if they do somehow win this game today, the next Saturday against the Bears, come up with a good effort and a victory, so they're heading in with the right mental frame of mind.
1:35 time remaining. 3rd down and 5. Chargers cannot stop the clock with a timeout. And here is Word, and he's going to pick up the 1st down. And so in reality, that will cinch it for Kansas City as their celebration has started. That'll put him in the playoffs as he has 6 more yards to his total 107 on the year.
And you can see DeBerg right there giving high 4s.
Like a character from Disney World.
He's definitely excited. Certainly the best year of his career, and he doesn't mind telling you. Not in an arrogant way, don't get me wrong.
No.
I just mean that, you know, here's somebody who at his age, after everything that he's gone through, all the different teams.
And again, what he has done for his team, I think he's the most valuable player in the league. I do. And now they'll just run out the clock and take the countdown. And Kansas City will be in the playoffs. And here's what the standings will look like in 35 seconds in the West.
He should keep that game ball. I'm all for him.
Oh, yes. And today's Ronald McDonald Children's Charities Player of the Game is Todd McNair. The 65-yard play, some great catches, a great ball game. McDonald's and NBC will donate $5,000 on behalf of all the players selected in today's games to Ronald McDonald Children's Charities to help give kids a better tomorrow.
Interesting, his reaction right there. He knows there's a long ways to go. He and Carl Peterson shake hands and congratulate one another. Yes, we've made the playoffs, but there's more to it than that, which I think is the right attitude. So many times young teams, their reaction is just getting there. Marty knows there's a lot of work yet to be done.
The final is Kansas City 24, San Diego 21. For Todd and myself, Merry Christmas, everybody, and here's Bob Costas.